Welcome to Celtic Tomes, bringing you readings from bygone books.
Welcome to Celtic Tomes, readings by Gary and Ruth from the classic books of Celtic lore and study. Book 3, Chapter 1 of British Goblins, Welsh Folklore, Fairy Mythology, Legends and Traditions by Wirt Sikes.
Book 3, Quaint Old Customs. Where in an aged cell, with moss and ivy grown, in which nor to this day the sun had ever shone, their reverent British saint, in zealous ages past, to contemplation lived, and did so truly fast, as he did only drink what crystal, rivers, yields, and fed upon the leeks he gathered in the fields, in memory of whom, in the revolving year, the Welshman on that day that sacred herb doth wear. Manuscript in the Bodleian Library. Chapter 1. Serious significance of seemingly trivial customs, including their origins, common superstitions, the age we live in, days and seasons, New Year's Day, the apple gift, lucky acts on New Year's morning, the first foot, Showmen's superstitions, Levy dew song, Happy New Year carol, Twelfth Night, the Mari Lwyd, the Penglog, the Cutty Wren, tooling and Sowling, St. Valentine's Day, St. Dewi's Day, the wearing of the Leek, the traditional St. David, St. Patrick's Day, St. Patrick a Welshman, and Shrove Tuesday. Section 1. Numberless customs in Wales, which appear to be meaningless to people of average culture, are in truth replete with meaning. However trivial they may seem, they are very seldom the offspring of mere fooling. The student of comparative folklore is often able to trace their origin with surprising distinctness, and to evolve from them a significance before unsuspected. In many cases, these quaint old customs are traced to the primeval mythology. Others are clearly seen to be of druidical origin. Many spring from the rites and observances of the Roman Catholic Church in the early days of Christianity on Welsh soil, where, as is now generally conceded, the gospel was first preached in Great Britain. Some embody historical traditions, and some are the outgrowth of peculiar states of society in medieval times. Directly or indirectly, they're all associated with superstition, though in many instances they have quite lost any superstitious character in our day. Modern society is agreed, with respect to many old customs, to view them as the peculiar possession of ignorance. It's very instructive to note, in this connection, how blandly we accept some of the most superstitious of these usages, with tacit approval, and permit them to govern our conduct. In every civilized community, in every enlightened land on earth, there are many men and women to whom this remark applies, who would deem themselves shamefully insulted should you doubt their intelligence and culture. Men and women who smile superior at the idea of Luther hurling inkstands at the devil, or at the Welsh peasant who thinks a pig can see the wind, will themselves avoid beginning a journey on a Friday, view as ominous a rainy wedding day, throw an old slipper after a bride for luck, observe with interest the portents of their nightly dreams, shun seeing the new moon over the left shoulder, throw a pinch of salt over the same member when the salt cellar is upset, tie a red string about the neck to cure nosebleed, and believe in the antics of the modern spiritualistic control. Superstition, however, they leave to the ignorant. The examples of everyday fetishism here cited are familiar to us, not especially among the Welsh, but among the English also, and the people of the United States, who, I may again observe, are no doubt as a people uncommonly free from superstition in comparison with the older nations of the earth, but modesty is a very becoming wear for us all in examining into other people's superstitions. Aside from their scientific interest, there is a charm about many of the quaint customs of the Welsh which speaks eloquently to most hearts. They're the offspring of ignorance, true, but they touch the good old times of the poet and the romancer, when the conditions of life were less harsh than now. So, we love to think. As a matter of scientific truth, this idea is itself, alas, but a superstition. The world has probably never been so fair a place to live in, life never so free from harsh conditions as now, and as time goes on, there can be no doubt the improving process will continue. The true halcyon days of man are to be looked for in the future, not in the past, but with that future we shall have no mortal part. Section 2. In treating of customs, no other classification is needful than their arrangement in orderly sequence in two divisions. First, those which pertain to certain days and seasons. Second, those relating to the most conspicuous events in common human life, courtship, marriage, and death. Beginning with the year, there is in Glamorganshire a New Year's Day custom of great antiquity and large present observance, called the apple gift, or New Year's gift. In every town and village you will encounter children, on or about New Year's Day, going from door to door of shops and houses, bearing an apple or an orange curiously tricked out. 3 sticks in the form of a tripod are thrust into it to serve as a rest. Its sides are smeared with flour or meal and stuck over with oats or wheat, or bits of broken lucifer matches to represent oats. Its top is covered with thyme or other sweet evergreen, and a skewer is inserted in one side as a handle to hold it by. In its perfection, this piece of work is elaborate, but it is now often a decrepit affair in the larger towns, where the New Year is welcomed, as at Cardiff, by a midnight chorus of steam whistles. The Christian symbolism of this custom is supposed to relate to the offering by the wise men of gold, frankincense, and myrrh to the infant Jesus. The older interpretation, however, takes the custom back to the Druidic days and makes it a form of the solar myth. In the 3 supporting sticks of the apple are seen the 3 rays of the sun. See the figure in the show notes. The mystic name of the Creator. The apple is the round sun itself. The evergreens represent its perennial life, and the grains of wheat or oats are Vagthi's spears. Vagthi is the evil principle of darkness, hell, or the devil, with which the sun fights throughout the winter for the world's life. Thousands of children in Wales seek to win from their elders a New Year's copper by exhibiting the apple gift, or by singing in chorus their good wishes. A popular verse on this occasion hopes the hearer will be blessed with an abundance of money in his pocket and of beer in his cellar, and draws attention to the singer's thin shoes and the bad character of the walking. In many cases, the juvenile population parades the street all night, sometimes with noisy fife bands, which follow the death knell, as it sounds from the old church tower, with shrill peals of a merrier, if not more musical sort. In Pembrokeshire, to rise early on New Year's morning is considered luck-bringing. On that morning, also, it is deemed wise to bring a fresh loaf into the house, with the superstition that the succession of loaves throughout the year will be influenced by that incident. A rigid quarantine is also set up to see that no female visitor cross the threshold first on New Year's morning. That a male visitor shall be the first to do so is a lucky thing, and the reverse unlucky. A superstition resembling this prevails to this day in America among showmen. "There's no showman on the road," said an American manager of my acquaintance, "who would think of letting a lady be first to pass through the doors when opening them for a performance. There's a sort of feeling that it brings ill luck. And then there are cross-eyed people. Many a veteran ticket seller loses all heart when one presents himself at the ticket window. A cross-eyed patron and a bad house generally go together. A cross-eyed performer would be a regular Jonah. With circuses, there is a superstition that a man with a yellow clarionet brings bad luck. Another well-known New York manager, in a recent conversation, assured me that to open an umbrella in a new play is deemed certain failure for the piece. An umbrella may be carried closed with impunity, but it must not be opened unless the author desire to court failure. The Chinese have the Pembrokeshire superstition exactly as regards the first foot on New Year's Day. They consider a woman peculiarly unlucky as the first foot after a new year has begun. But a Buddhist priest is even more unlucky than a woman in this light. Another Pembrokeshire custom on New Year's morning is quaint and interesting. As soon as it's light, children of the peasantry hasten to provide a small cup of pure spring water, just from the well, and they go about sprinkling the faces of those they meet with the aid of a sprig of evergreen. At the same time they sing the following verses. Here we bring you water from the well so clear, for to worship God with this happy new year. Sing Levy, the water and the wine, with 7 bright gold wires and bugles that do shine. Sing reign of fair maid with gold upon her toe. Open you the west door and turn the old year go. Sing reign of fair maid with gold upon her chin. Open you the east door and let the new year in. This custom also is still observed extensively. The words Levy are deemed an English version of Lleffy, a cry to God. A Welsh song sung on New Year's Day in Glamorganshire by boys in chorus, somewhat after the Christmas carol fashion, is this. Blwyddyn newydd dda i chwi, gwyliaw llawen i chwi, maestr a maestres bob yn troi'r tŷ, gwyliaw llawen i chwi, codwch yn fforau a rheswch y tân, a cherddwch I ffynnon I ymyfyn dŵr glân. A happy new year to you. Merry be your holidays, master and mistress, everyone in the house. Arise in the morning, bestir the fire, and go to the well to fetch fresh water. Section 3. Among Twelfth Night customs, none is more celebrated than that called Mari Lwyd. It prevails in various parts of Wales, notably in Lower Glamorganshire. The skeleton of a horse's head is procured by the young men or boys of the village and adorned with favours of pink, blue, yellow, etc. These are generally borrowed from the girls, as it's not considered necessary the silken fillets and rosettes should be new, and such finery costs money. The bottoms of 2 black bottles are inserted in the sockets of the skeleton head to serve as eyes, and a substitute for ears is also contrived. On Twelfth Night, they carry this object about from house to house, with shouts and songs, and a general cultivation of noise and racket. Sometimes a duet is sung in Welsh outside a door, the singers begging to be invited in. If the door be not opened, they tap on it, and there is frequently quite a series of awen sung. The parties within denying the outsiders admission, and the outsiders urging the same. At last the door is opened, when in bounces the merry crowd, among them the Mari Lwyd, borne by one impersonating a horse, who is led by another personating the groom. The horse chases the girls around the room, capering and neighing, while the groom cries, "So home, my boy, gently, poor fellow!" And the girls, of course, scream with merriment. A dance follows, a reel performed by 3 young men, tricked out with ribbons. The company is then regaled with cakes and ale, and the revellers depart, pausing outside the door to sing a parting song of thanks and good wishes to their entertainers. The Penglog, a skull, a noddle, is a similar custom peculiar to Aberconwy, Conway, in Carnarvonshire. In this case, the horse's skull is an attention particularly bestowed upon prudes. Mari Lwyd may mean Pale Mary, or Wan Mary, or Hoary Mary, but the presumption is that it means in this case Blessed Mary, and that the custom is of papal origin. There is, however, a tradition which links the custom with enchantment, in connection with a warlike princess, reputed to have flourished in Gwent and Morgannwg in the early ages, and who is to be seen this day, mounted on her steed, on a rock in Rumney Dingle. The Cutty Wren is a Pembrokeshire Twelfth Night custom prevailing commonly during the last century, but now nearly extinct. A wren was placed in a little house of paper with glass windows, and this was hoisted on 4 poles, one at each corner. 4 men bore it about, singing a very long ballad, of which one stanza will be enough. "Oh, where are you going?" says Milder to Melder. "Oh, where are you going?" says the younger to elder. "Oh, I cannot tell you," says Fessel to foes. "We're going to the woods," said John the Red-Nose. The immediate purpose of this rite was to levy contributions. Another such custom was called tooling, and its purpose was beer. It consisted of calling at the farmhouses and pretended to look for one's tools behind the beer cask. "We've left my saw behind your beer cask," a carpenter would say. "My whip," a carter, and received the tool by proxy in the shape of a cup of ale. The female portion of the poorer sort, on the other hand, practised what was called sowling, viz. Asking for sole and receiving accordingly any food eaten with bread, such as cheese, fish, or meat. This custom is still maintained, and Sowling Day fills many a poor woman's bag. The phrase is supposed to be from the French soul, signifying one's fill. Section 4. Connected with Valentine's Day, there is no Welsh custom which demands notice here. But it is perhaps worthy of mention that nowhere in the world is the day more abundantly productive of its orthodox crop, love letters. The post offices in the Principality are simply deluged with these missives on the eve and the morning of St. Valentine's. In Cardiff, the postmaster thinks himself lucky if he gets off with 15,000 letters in excess of the ordinary mail. 19 extra sorters and carriers were employed for this work on February the 14th, 1878, and the regular force also was heavily worked beyond its usual hours. The custom is more Norman than Cambrian, I suppose. The word Valentine comes from the Norman word for a lover, and the saint is a mere accident in this connection. Section 5. St. Dewi is to the Welsh what St. George is to the English, St. Andrew to the Scotch, and St. Patrick to the Irish. His day is celebrated on the 1st of March throughout Wales, and indeed throughout the world where Welshmen are. In some American ports, perhaps all, the British consulate displays its flag in honour of the day. In Wales there are processions, grand dinners, places of business are closed, the poor are banqueted, speeches are made, and songs are sung. The most characteristic feature of the day is the wearing of the leek. This feature is least conspicuous, it may be noted, in those parts of Wales where the English residents are fewest, and least of all in the ultra-Welsh shires of Cardigan and Carmarthen, where St. David is peculiarly honoured. The significance of this fact, no doubt, lies in the absence of any necessity for asserting a Cambrianism which there are none to dispute. In the border towns, every Welshman who desires to assert his national right wears the leek in his hat or elsewhere on his person, but in the shadow of St. David's College at Lampeter, not a leek is seen on St. Dewi's Day. In Glamorganshire may be found the Order of the Knights of the Leek, who hold high festival on the 1st of every March, gathering in the Welsh bards and men of letters. Why is the leek worn? Practically, because the wearer is a Welshman who honours tradition. But the precise origin of the custom is involved in an obscurity from which emerge several curious and interesting traditions. The verses cited at the opening of this part refer to one of these. They're quoted by Manby without other credit than a very ancient manuscript. Another tradition is thus given in a pamphlet of 1642. St. David, when he always went into the field in martial exercise, he carried a leek with him, and once, being almost faint to death, he immediately remembered himself of the leek, and by that means not only preserved his life, but also became victorious. Hence is the mythology of the leek derived. The practice is traced by another writer to the custom of Cymhortha. or the neighbourly aid practised among farmers, which is of various kinds. In some districts of South Wales, all the neighbours of a small farmer without means appoint a day when they all attend to plough his land, and the like. And at such time, it is a custom for each individual to bring his portion of leeks to be used in making pottage for the whole company, and they bring nothing else but the leeks, in particular for the occasion. Some find the true origin of the custom in Druidical days, but their warrant is not clear, nor how it came to be associated with the 1st of March in that case. The military origin bears down the scale of testimony and gives the leek the glory of a Cambrian victory as its consecrator to ornamental purposes. Whether this victory was over the Saxon or the Gaul does not exactly appear. Some traditions say one, some the other. The Battle of Poitiers has been named. Also that of Crecy, where the Welsh archers did good service with the English against a common enemy. But an older tradition is to the effect that the Saxon was the foe. The invaders had assumed the dress of the Britons, that they might steal upon them unsuspected. But St. David ordered the Welshmen to stick leeks in their caps as a badge of distinction. And this he did, merely because there was a large field of leeks growing near the British camp. The precaution gave the day to the favoured of St. Dewi. It cannot be denied that there have been found Englishmen rude enough to ridicule this honourable and ancient custom of the Welsh, though why they should do so, there is no good reason. The leek is not fragrant, perhaps, but if an old custom must smell sweet or be laughed at, there's work enough for our risibles in every English parish. The following is one of the foolish legends of the English respecting the leek. Or the Welsh in olden days were so infested by orangutans that they could obtain no peace day or night, and not being themselves able to extirpate them, they invited the English to assist, who came, but through mistake killed several of the Welsh, so that in order to distinguish them from the monkeys, they desired them to stick a leek in their hats. The author of this ridiculous tale deserves the fate of Pistol, whom Llewellyn compelled to eat his leek, skin and all. Llewellyn. I beseech you heartily, scurvy, lousy knave, at my desires, my requests, and my petitions, to eat, look you, this leek, because, look you, you do not love it, nor your affections and your appetites and your digestions does not agree with it, and I would desire you to eat it. Pistol. Not for Cadwallader and all his goats. Oh, there's a goat for you. He strikes him. Will you be so good, scored knave, as to eat it? Base Trojan, thou shalt die. Oh, you say very true, scored knave, when God's will is. I will desire you to live in the meantime, and eat your victuals. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek. Quiet thy cudgel. Thou to see, I eat. Oh, much good to you, scored knave, heartily. Nay, pray you, throw none away. The skin is good for your prock and coxcomb, and when you take occasions to see leeks hereafter, I pray you, mock at them, that is all. Section 6. The traditional St. David is a brilliant figure in Welsh story. With the historical character, this work has not to deal. The legendary account of him represents a man of gigantic stature and fabulous beauty, whose age at his death was 147 years. He was a direct descendant of the sister of the Virgin Mary, and his first miracles were performed while he was yet unborn. In this condition, he regulated the diet of his virgin mother, and struck dumb a preacher who presumed to preach in her presence. At the hour of his birth, St. Dewi performed a miracle, another when he was baptised, and he was taught his lessons at a place called the Old Bush in South Wales by a pigeon with a golden beak which played about his lips. As he grew up, his miraculous powers waxed stronger, and magicians who opposed him were destroyed by fire which he called from heaven to consume them. Thirsty, a fountain rose in Glynhodnant at his call, and from this fountain ran not water but good wine. When he went about the country, he was always accompanied by an angel. On the banks of the river Teifi, a miserable woman wept over her son, who lay dead. She appealed to Dewi, who laid hold of the boy's right hand, and he arose from the dead as if from a sleep. At Llandewi Brefi, in Cardiganshire, as he was preaching on the surface of the flat ground, the ground rose as a high mount under his feet, so that the people all about could see him as well as hear him. A labourer lifted his pickaxe to strike a friend of Dewi's, which the saint, seeing from afar off, raised his hand and willed that the labourer's hand should become stiff, which it did. Another friend, going away to Ireland, forgot and left behind him a little bell that Dewi had given him, but Dewi sent the bell across the sea by an angel, so that it arrived there next day without the aid of human hands. And finally, having made up his mind that he would die and go to heaven, he did so, but quite of his own will, at his own request, so to speak. Having asked that his soul might be taken, an angel informed him that it would be taken on the 1st of March proximo. So David bade his friends goodbye on the 28th of February, greatly to their distress. "Alas," they cried, "the earth will not swallow us. Alas, fire will not consume us. Alas, the sea will not come over the land. Alas, the mountains will not fall to cover us." On Tuesday night, as the cocks were crowing, a host of angels thronged the streets of the city and filled it with joy and mirth, and Dewi died. "The angels took his soul to the place where there is light without end, and rest without labour, and joy without sorrow, and plenty of all good things, and victory, and brightness, and beauty. There Abel is with the martyrs, Noah is with the sailors, Thomas is with the Indians, Peter is with the apostles, Paul is with the Greeks, other saints with other suitable persons, and David is with the kings." On the summit which rose under St. Dewi while he stood on it and preached, now stands St. David's Church at Llandewi Brefi. In the days of its glory, i.e. during nearly the whole period of Roman Catholic rule, it was renowned beyond all others in Britain. To go twice to St. David's was deemed equal to going once to Rome, and a superstitious belief prevailed that every man must go to St. David's once, either alive or dead. William the Conqueror marched through Wales in hostile array in 1080, but arriving at St. David's shrine, laid aside the warrior for the votary. Section 7. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in Wales with much enthusiasm. The Welsh believe that St. Patrick was a Welshman. Born at Llandelo, Talabont in Glamorganshire, and educated at the famous College of Llantwit Major, he held St. David's place till the coming of Dewi was announced to him. Then he went to Ireland to do missionary work, as it were. This is the monastic tale. Patrick was comfortably settled in the valley of Racina and intended to pass his life there, but an angel came to him and said, "Thou must leave this place to one who is not yet born." Patrick was annoyed, even angered, but obedient, and went off to Ireland, where he became a great man. The story of the Iolo manuscripts, however, presents the matter in a different light. About AD 420, the island of Britain seemed to have neither ruler nor proprietor. The Irish took advantage of this state of things to invade and oppress Britain, robbing her of corn and cattle, and every other movable property that they could lay their hands on. Among other things, they stole away St. Patrick from the College of Llantwit Major, whence that college became destitute of a principal and teacher for more than 40 years, and fell into dilapidation. A condition it remains in at present, by the way. Patrick never returned to Wales, choosing rather to reside in Ireland, having ascertained that the Irish were better people than the Welsh in those times. Still, it is not the native Welsh who are as a rule the celebrators of St. Patrick's Day in Wales. Section 8. Shrove Tuesday was once characterised by a custom called throwing at cocks, now obsolete. Hens which had laid no eggs before that day were threshed with a flail, as being good for nothing. The person who hit the hen with the flail and killed her got her for his reward. The more reputable custom of cramming with cramoethau, pancakes, still survives and is undoubtedly of extreme antiquity.
That was Book 3, Chapter 1 of British Goblins, Welsh Folklore, Fairy Mythology, Legends and Traditions by Wirt Sikes. A link to the full text can be found in the show notes at celtictomes.libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. You can also find all of the names, place names, and other non-English words written down for you in the show notes in the order in which they appear in this reading. If you'd like to comment on this chapter, pop over to our show notes and join in or start a conversation. If you've enjoyed this podcast, why not try our sister podcast, the Celtic Myth Pod Show, which brings the stories of ancient Celts to life with narrative and drama, as well as bringing you modern Celtic music, stories and information. Find the Celtic Myth Pod Show in all the places where the best podcasts hang out, or on our website at celticmythpodshow.com. You've been listening to Celtic Tomes, read by Gary and Ruth. Our theme music is Gander in the Pretty Hole by Slauncher, and a link to their music can be found in the show notes at celtictomes.libsyn.com. This podcast has been produced by the Celtic Myth Show.